you to the second IE KMD Venture Day Tokyo. We're going to start off with three speakers. First two speakers, we'll have Joel McConnell and Julia Sanchez from IE give a short presentation. Thanks.
Well, welcome everybody. Julia and I are on tour right now. It's our last activity for 2014 here in the region. So we wanted to give you first a welcome and tell you a little bit about IE as an institution and what we're doing with regards to alumni relations. I'm the Regional Director for Asia Pacific at IE Business School, and I am part of the International Development Department at IE. International Development at IE is principally about institutional relations, alumni relations, and of course supporting candidates that want to come study with us at either our Madrid or our Segovia campus. Venture Days are very important for us at IE, and especially with regards to international development. This is our fourth and final Venture Day in Asia Pacific this year, having completed previous dates in Shanghai, Manila, as well as Seoul at the World Knowledge Forum, and today here at Keio University. So thank you for joining us. I hope that if you have any questions about IE Business School and in our programs, you won't be shy to approach me later. And of course, I would like to welcome our alumni and introduce you to Julia Sanchez, who is our Global Head of Alumni Relations.
Thank you, Joel. Well, as Joel mentioned, my name is Julia Sanchez. I am the head of Global Alumni Relations at IE Business School. We're very proud of our alumni network. We have a very broad scope, 50,000 worldwide, located across 110 countries. And I just wanted to say that I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today. It's especially a privilege because it's my first time in Tokyo. So thank you for welcoming both me and IE to your wonderful city. I often get asked about what makes our alumni community so special. So I wanted to share a couple points with you today, and I think that this type of event, our Venture Days worldwide, are a perfect example of why we're such a unique school. So what we strive as an alumni community is to inspire one another, to think big and put our ideas into action. We empower one another. We strive to support one another and always push the boundaries of our comfort zone and always welcome change. And third, we strive to co-create, to share knowledge, to create opportunities to positively impact not only our communities but the world at large. And so today I'm very excited to learn the ideas that you're going to present here today, and most importantly to watch them grow and to see how IE can be involved in bringing those ideas to fruition. So a special welcome to our alumni community that are here today, and a special thank you to all of you for welcoming us. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be the Dean of KMD, the graduate school here. So I'd like to welcome Masa.
Welcome to Keio University. I'm the Dean of Graduate School of Media Design. We have several campuses at Keio. My campus is not here, but this is a headquarters of Keio. As you know, Keio University founder Fukuzawa-san is a visionary in Japan that appears on our 10,000 yen bill or $100 bill in Japanese yen. So he's a figure who's always looking forward into the future and always looking to how to create new types of leaders for the upcoming society. At Keio Graduate School of Media Design, also known from KMD, we are committed to create the next generation creative leaders and also who can work beyond boundaries. Beyond boundaries we define is not only about the country, the regional boundary that goes beyond, which we call global in many ways, but also different disciplines needs to be cross-border or to do collaboration. So at KMD, we have lots of partnerships around business school consortium called SEMS. We also have a partnership with design schools called Global Innovation Design Program. And now we are starting this interesting journey about acceleration program for creating more creative types of entrepreneurs. In Japan, we need more and more entrepreneurs and entrepreneur spirit people who might not do entrepreneurship, but still have the spirit of exploring, adventurous with curiosity. We need explorers. So at KMD, we are very, very honored to participate on this Venture Day with IE Business School. I hope you'll be inspired by all these finalist presentations. This morning we had student presentations run by Professor Paris de Tetras from IE Business School. We've invited him for several years now to run an acceleration program for 2 weeks. And the result was presented by students this morning, and we've selected the 2 of the best, which will be included in the 10 presentations. So if you have any interest in going global, trying to go beyond comfort zone, as they mentioned, I think it is important to think outside the box. It's not just think, but also act outside the box. If you have interest in partnering with us, we welcome you on board on IE KMD Venture Day and the future events. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Masa. So our first keynote speech will be given by Matt Romain. He's a co-founder of Gengo. They've done very well. I've seen them grow over the last few years, and it's a real pleasure to invite them here today. Matt, all yours.
Great. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to be here. If anyone had told me 5, 6 years ago when we started Gengo that I would be giving a keynote at a pitch event like this, I would have been like, what? Like, no way. Like, I just couldn't have imagined that. And so I'm Matthew Romain, Gengo co-founder and CTO. You can follow me on Twitter. We also have a company Gengo account. So just want to kind of get a sense of the audience. How many of you are doing your own startup? Can you raise your hands? Cool. How many of you want to be doing one but are not yet? Okay, there's a couple. Cool. All right. So when we started, I think you could count on one finger how many incubators there were 5, 6 years ago. And now I feel like there's more than 20. And so there's been a lot of interesting growth over the past 5, 6 years in the entrepreneur ecosystem. And there's also been a lot of events, such as this one. I was also at another one on Tuesday. And there's a lot of events on the weekend and on evenings as well. And I think what's interesting is that when we started, there was much less access to entrepreneurs and others who either had experience or who were like-minded. But now with events like these, you get together and share some thoughts and learnings. So it's just really great. I'm just very excited about the direction that things are going for the startup community. What's also really cool, if you're just getting started, is that you get to learn from other people's mistakes. And others who've raised a lot of money and spent and lost a lot of money from other people's money. And so at least it doesn't have to be your case, but you get to learn from it. So it's very exciting. And I think what's particularly interesting is that there's a lot of growth that's happening outside of the Bay Area. And in particular, the fact that, for example, FailCon was hosted earlier this year says a lot, is a big testament to how far things have come within Japan. And I'm also starting to notice a lot of entrepreneurs interested, who are from the Bay Area, interested in Japan and coming out this way. And so and also exploring other parts of Asia as well. And so it's very encouraging. And so since we're quite an international audience, it seems today, and I think some of us aspire to build some global platforms and businesses, I thought I'd share a little bit about how at Gengo we've approached it. But before I get started, maybe some of you guys have heard or seen this before. Just one caveat, of course, anything that may come across as advice that I share today, it's from my limited experience, and it's probably quite oversimplified. So I won't be offended if you take anything I say with a big grain of salt. So people also say that when you start a company, the culture of a company is often a reflection of the founding team. And so I think it'll make sense to share a little bit about myself, just to kind of give you some context to Gengo growing. So I was born in Boston to a Japanese mother and an American father. Sometimes I get mistaken for an Italian, but I'm half Japanese, half American. We, as a family, we sort of flew back and forth around from the East Coast, Boston to Tokyo, lived in London for a little bit, eventually grew up here, and then went back to the East Coast to go to university. And I couldn't decide between a couple different topics, and so I ended up studying both computer science and music theory, and went on to graduate school, and then found an opportunity at Sony here in Japan, where I did a lot of audio research. And I was hired as a seishain, which is sort of a full-time employee. And when you're a seishain in a Japanese company, some of you may know, they send you through a couple different experiences, and as sort of training that's outside of what you're hired for. And one of the things that I had to do was Hanbai Kenshu, which is sales training. So I had to work for a month in Akihabara at the Laux there on the duty-free floor, selling digital cameras and video cameras. So here's a guy with a master's in music selling product in Akihabara. This was a very interesting and eye-opening experience for me. I did manage to sell, I think it was over $100,000 in product. So I was pretty excited about that. After this experience, I went back to Sony and was doing a lot of research, and eventually Howard Stringer became the CEO. And so I was asked to sort of get closer to headquarters, and found myself doing a lot of translation work. So I started to think, like, really, I was hired as an engineer, and now I'm doing translation in this global company. That seems kind of odd. And around the same time, Web 2.0 started to become sort of a popular term, and there were a lot of interesting services that were launching. And so one of them, so the timeline that sort of overlapped with when I was at Sony kind of looks like this. So we had Facebook and GREE launching and Google IPOing. The following year, Odesk and Mechanical Turk launch, and then Twitter launches and Mixi IPOs. And so there's a lot of interesting activity happening online, and I'm working in this hardware company with a software background, and so I'm thinking, I'd like to start try some of my own projects. So I left, and the first project, I was basically working on some web development, and the first project I launched was sort of a clone of Hot or Not, which I tried to bring to Japan. And we called it Kirakirajin. And it didn't do so well, but then I just iterated and moved on to another project. And around that time, the next project was the Nintendo Wii had come out, and so we built a site called Mi Station where you could make you could upload a photo of yourself and pay $10, and we'd make a copy of we'd make an avatar for you and then and send it to your Wii. And this actually ended up getting a bit of publicity. We were featured in the Wall Street Journal, also awarded a Time.com Best 50 website back in 2007, and so it brought quite a bit of visibility, but it was not very scalable because we had to sit in front of the TV and sort of look at a photo of a face and make the avatar. So I started to network a bit with the entrepreneurial community in Tokyo, and the English-speaking one is kind of small. I see a couple familiar faces here. And I met my now co-founder, and we started to work on a couple projects and noticed that one of them, the topics that came up was around translation. And my co-founder's from, he's half British, half Australian, and his wife is Japanese. And so he kept asking her to translate stuff as he got acclimated to Japan. And I remembered the feeling or impression that I had when I was at Sony being asked to do translation. And so we thought, well, this is an interesting problem that we're experiencing from different angles, and maybe there's a way we can solve it by harnessing the internet. So that was sort of the genesis of Gengo. As we were working on these projects, I remembered meeting a guy named Dave McClure soon after I had left Sony, and found that he was starting a fund and getting into angel investing. And so I just sort of sent him the link and reestablished that connection, and found out that he was coming to Japan on vacation because his wife is Japanese. So he's bringing his family. And we ended up setting up a meeting. We did the pitch, and pretty much on the spot, he became our first outside investor. So that was one of the earlier photos. And Dave was really instrumental in introducing and getting us connected with the Angel Investor Network in the Bay Area, and in particular, one that was very international. I think in our seed round, we had 7 angel investors, all from different countries. South America, from Singapore, and from Europe as well. And so, and what was interesting was that each of these angels could really empathize and understand the problem that we were trying to solve. And so that they also became sort of a support network for us. And I think one of the key themes that you're going to sort of notice throughout this presentation is that the value of diversity and how important it is in the decisions that we make and the environment that we have. And for us, I mean, if you think about it, if you want to go global, you kind of have to be global. And if you're going to be global, you have to really value diversity and see it as an asset. And so, and this is diversity in your environment, diversity in your team, your support network, and the activities that you do. Because it's tough enough succeeding in a local environment. And so to succeed globally, being global itself has to be a real strength. And so how were we able to do this at Gengo? And I want to start with sort of the why that's been driving us. And for us, there's sort of 2 reasons. One is a personal and one is a professional reason, I guess you would call it. Personal reason, so right before actually launching it, I was very close to going back to the Bay Area. I was kind of thinking like, okay, some of my ideas here aren't really working out, and there's a lot of activity happening in the Bay Area, so maybe I'll just go back there. But I really love living in Tokyo. As many of you know, it's clean, it's safe. We've got some of the best food in the world. I think we recently awarded the most number of Michelin stars, right, in Japan. So it's a very convenient place to live. And so I was wondering, like, is there a way to bring a piece of Silicon Valley to Tokyo? And on the professional level, there was a lot of growing activity happening online outside of the Bay Area. And we wanted to sort of capture that. And we were kind of wondering, I mean, we noticed that there were more and more sort of copycat services in Japan that were basically maybe 6 to 8 months after something was announced in the Bay Area. And that time lag was shrinking, and services that were new in the valley would pop up sooner here, but they were still copycats. And we believed that as a start that there must be ideas out there that could originate from Japan that could then be successful in the US. And I firmly believe that, I mean, basically for Gengo, if we hadn't been living in Japan, we probably wouldn't have had this idea of solving the translation problem. Because obviously English is just the business language in the US. And so some of the 2 of the core drivers for us in launching Gengo, one, to show that aspects of Silicon Valley could be replicated, and the other being that there were ideas that could be original, because at the time there were a lot of people saying, Japan can't produce original ideas, original startup ideas for the internet. So how are we executing on these drivers? I thought I'd share some of the steps. Some of them are sort of organic, others are a bit deliberate, but I want to share some of the approaches that we've taken that have helped us in growing Gengo to be global. One is that we found a cheerleader. I mentioned it earlier, Dave has been really supportive, helping us hustle, introducing us, and a great PR channel for us. And I think this is key in growing your startup, is really try and get a supporter, a mentor who can be a good cheerleader for you. Another is we identified a competitive advantage to our local environment. So I think many of you who are trying to build teams have struggled with hiring, whether it be engineering talent or whatever. And so for us, we noticed that hiring engineers is really important for our platform. And if you're in the Bay Area, you need to be sort of using cutting edge sort of progressive technologies if you want to attract good talent. And we noticed in Japan that there were a lot of good engineers out there who had an interest in using newer technologies, but their employment environment didn't really support it. And so they would go to hackathons and just dabble in new technologies, but not be able to use it in a production environment. And so if you're a developer, maybe you've heard of source control management tools like Git and GitHub, which now if you're doing a startup in the Bay Area, if you're not using, you're probably not going to be seriously considered. Whereas in Japan, there's still a lot of areas that I guess maybe don't even have source control management, let alone maybe using something like CVS or SVN, which are pretty older tools. So that became part of our pitch, that if you're a developer who's interested in some of the newer technologies like Golang even, which is one of the newer programming languages, we actually deploy in a production environment software that is written in Go, and that has helped us attract some pretty strong talent locally. Another one is learning to be operationally flexible and creative. So we struggled initially to hire locally because in Japan, a lot of employees sort of expect this seishain style contract, which is the full-time contract that I was under at Sony. And it kind of implies that you're always lifetime employment. And when you're doing a startup, you kind of need the flexibility in changing your team sizes. And so we started hiring only on a contract basis. But of course, all other benefits being equal, these contracts are sort of on one-year terms. And initially, it was kind of a challenge to get some of the good talent that was used to this low-risk environment to join. And so we accepted that we would have to put a premium on that. And what that ended up doing is this helped us find the type of individuals who could understand that trade-off between the premium and the risk, the employment sort of contract risk. And so we actually ended up, that was more sort of just trying to be flexible on the types of relationships that you have in your employment. And then on the creative side, we actually have a presentation for spouses. So what we realized was that a lot of the decision making in whether to join a company ended up being obviously with the other family members. And so we have a special presentation that explains the vision of the company and the direction of what we want to do, that we present to the spouses who are kind of concerned about sort of what seems like this no-name company they've never heard of and a high-risk environment. Another one is, well, despite, of course you have to be creative and flexible, but there are some things you kind of just need to do the local way. And so it still kind of surprises me sometimes when I hear company and team builders mention that they're having challenges hiring good local talent. And I find out that the job postings they do are only in English. And for us, like, as long as a position does not require native English, we'll put it in Japanese and post it on services that attract basically a Japanese audience. And of course, this will apply to whatever country you're in, where there are a lot of individuals out there who are strong talent, but they may not realize that an environment, a unique environment like yours that wants to go global even exists. And so you kind of need to get out and be in front of them. We, of course, also choose familiar and internationally available tools. This is kind of getting a little bit tactical, but for example, on payments, we use PayPal. For infrastructure, we'd use AWS. For digital rights document signing, we use a service called RightSignature. And there may be sort of better local services, but if you want to be global, you kind of have to get into the habit of using global services. And realizing that, one of the things we realized was that there may be times where we would have to shift a responsibility from one office to another, or from one individual to another who has a different cultural background. And so familiarity with the global service, or these familiar international services and tools can really help smooth things out. And so this one's kind of tough because sometimes there are local services or startups that you want to support and encourage, and they may not have been localized yet. And so it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. And finally, we do a lot of travel. And of course, make no mistake, you can't replace in-person, face-to-face time. And so we have set up an office in San Mateo because we have customers and investors out in the Bay Area. And on any given week, there's someone from the Tokyo office who's in the San Mateo office. So we really value that FaceTime. And if we can't do it physically, we spend a lot of time on Skype video and other video services within Teams and in conversations with customers around the world. For us, our mornings in the Tokyo office are really quite busy, using all the teams in Tokyo communicating with the teams in San Mateo on Skype. And we even have a wormhole, which is sort of a perpetually on video system between the two offices to sort of give a sense of a single unified office. So what has this resulted in? I thought I'd share just a little bit about what some of the stats that we have now. We have over 13,000 translators now around the world, and they help translate 37 languages, pretty much covering every time zone. We've done over 280 million words of translation, thanks to customers that we've had in over 80 different countries. And our team itself, less than 50 people, but over 10 nationalities. And this is a photo that was taken earlier this year at a conference that we do. We call it Gengonference. It's kind of an internal conference. And as I was working on this presentation, I noticed that I was sort of following this pattern that I had seen earlier this year by a guy named Simon Sinek called The Golden Circle. Maybe some of you have seen this. And it's a really interesting, good presentation. It's a TED Talk. I recommend checking out if you get a chance. Just search for Start With Why. And it really kind of helps understand and figure out sort of your purpose and find out how that's going to drive what it is that you want to accomplish. So just wanted to share sort of two final thoughts, mostly for the entrepreneurs here today. The first one, so there's no one right way to build a company, obviously, right? You've got Facebook, you've got Microsoft, you've got Google, you've got Apple, and you've got a whole bunch of great tech companies, and they're all high impact and doing things in a very unique way. What they do have is they have a core understanding of what their culture is, and that's going to be really important as you build your teams. And hopefully, if you want to go global, you start to identify what it is about diversity for you that is an asset that is valuable. And the other thing I wanted to share was whenever I'm sort of having a tough time in any aspect of growing the company, I just remember that if it was easy, everyone else would be doing it. So, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want unique experience. There are so many voices like this. I often heard from many tourists. In addition, I don't want to just visit tourist spots. I cannot find authentic cultural programs. There are few little English information except for Tokyo and Kyoto. To solve these problems, we will provide 2 to 4 days apprenticeship programs in rural areas. Through the process, tourists can touch the spirit of masters, which gives them a unique and authentic experience. Let me show you our sample programs. The theme is tea. Tourists can experience all about tea, from making tea balls, picking tea leaves, and having tea ceremonies with masters.
Okay, let's talk about some sexy numbers. 71 billion yen is the size of our target market, which represents 150,000 customers. We are going to target people from English-speaking countries who are interested in traditional Japanese cultures. And it is going to reach 169 billion yen by 2020, which represents 360,000 customers. How does business will work? First, we as Japan will communicate with masters and develop our own product together. We also educate our own translators. Also, we can offer e-commerce so that the masters will have incentive to join us. Because nowadays, masters are facing severe situation and they are looking for new business opportunities. In terms of, we are going to sell our product through collaborators, such as travel agencies and hotel chains. They are going to sell our programs as a part of their package tour. Or we can sell our programs directly to the customers through our website. And finally, they come to Japan and enjoy apprenticeship. Why our service is the best? We have 3 attributes. First, we can offer programs in rural areas which other competitors are not offering. Second, we can offer real interaction with masters. And finally, it's value for money. As a marketing, we will test our prototype with MBA student as Japan Track in April, and we can revise it based on their feedbacks. And as initial sales, we can use B2B channels as I mentioned before. And through these 2 steps, we will accumulate good reputation on TripAdvisor and establish good brand.
In terms of projection, we plan to have 100 customers in the first year. This will increase to 4,000 customers by 2019, a year before the Olympics. This represents a revenue of 730 million yen, and our main costs will be 70% of the price paid to the suppliers, the masters and craftspeople, followed by human resources cost. This will give us an EBIT margin of 18%. We need funding of 25 million yen, or 170,000 euros, to cover the initial costs such as website marketing, as well as staff and guide costs. In terms of implementation, we are currently speaking with the masters so that we can set up our company, launch our website, and start offering a program in April. And we plan to break even within a year and a bit. In terms of our team, We have Miki, who has 2 years background in tourism. Keita, who has a tech background, has already run an experienced karate company successfully for 2 years. And myself, Hisashi, with family business and finance background. And most importantly, we are all very enthusiastic developers. Thank you, that's our presentation.
Hi, thanks guys, good job. Hey Nikki, good to see you here in your hometown. Folks, can you just give me more detail on the business model in terms of what you're going to sell and package to the consumer for, and do you take a commission from the travel agent or how that works?
So in terms of competitive advantages, we have two things, which is
Business model, sorry, maybe business model. So I'm asking what the cost is. What is the cost of the package? And how are you guys making money? Are you taking a commission from the travel agent?
Our main cost will be to the price paid to the suppliers. We are able to make margins on them because we have a number of people, so there's economies of scale, and also we will as time passes by, we can start making revenue from e-commerce as well, as you can see here. And also, this sale through travel agent is just in the beginning to build our reputation. So actually, this in the beginning, we will pay some commission to the travel agents, but we actually to sell.
What will the 2-day tea mastery trip for a business school student cost?
So that would cost around $1,000. Yes.
Thanks for that great presentation. I'm Emre from Globus Capital Partners. My question is around scalability. How do you plan to find the real masters and also the translators who's going to be on the site to translate for the duration of the activities?
Yes, it's a good question because you may think it's not scalable easily, and maybe you think why do we have to develop a product by ourselves? But as I mentioned before, but as you may know, there are many startups that entering in this market, and there are a bunch of players offering similar product, especially in Tokyo and Kyoto and their activities. So in the long run, it will be very important to develop our product. And once we can have 3 to 4 successful prototypes, I think it's much easier to scale and convince masters to join our platform, because they are also seeking for new opportunity to be more worldwide appearance and seeking for new revenue stream, and we can help them, and it's gonna be a kind of win-win situation for them.
Sorry, follow-up question. Do you plan to find those places on your own, or are you willing to collaborate with like tour agencies or activity websites?
Yeah, we are developing the product by ourselves, and we already contacted at least 5-6 masters, and for example, 2 very interested in our business, like Takasaki or Bizen, and Takaoka will be also another good place to start.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olga from Kujima Fund. Our fund is pretty interested in inbound tourism business. I like it. And so, please explain about the competitive situation with a lot of competitors.
Yes, I think we don't have any direct competitors because no one is offering programs in rural areas. And some are doing it, but they just visit some famous place like Niseko or Hiroshima. So what we are going to offer is real rural areas like as I mentioned, Takaoka in Toyama, for example, and there are a few tourists there. And in terms of the contents of the programs, Walk Japan is one of the interesting company because they are providing just walking tour in Naka Center, and it costs more than 40,000 yen per day. So there should be some customers who are interested in this kind of niche product.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Tyler from Pointy. We are trying to solve a simple problem. It's that online merchants have a set of very nice tools that are generally not available to offline merchants. For example, if I'm an online merchant, I know that if I spend $100 on advertising and I pay 10 cents per click, 1,000 people are going to come visit my website. I can monitor the performance of my ad campaign in real time. I can tweak the wording and improve the performance in real time. I can also combine this with information from my website and say, for example, if I have two campaigns, A and B, and I notice that customers from A are spending 5 times as much, I might choose to spend all of my ad dollars on Group A. By contrast, offline merchants, they generally have to guess at how many people are seeing their ads. They don't have any equivalent traditionally for the pay-per-click system, so they don't know how many people are going to come spending X amount of dollars on advertising. And they have no real way to connect the performance of their ad campaign with actual visitors to the store. So a solution for this was proposed by Shopkick in 2009. It's been quite successful. For those who don't know, you install an app, a customer walks into a participating store, and they click check-in, and they get points, which are redeemable for gift certificates. And essentially, customers are getting paid just to walk into the store. This is in contrast to coupons. They don't have to spend any money. From the retailer's point of view, they're paying directly for what they want. They want people to come to the store, so they pay, say, 50 cents per person. So this is basically the equivalent of pay-per-click from the online world. Because it's digital, they can also have many of the similar tools, like monitoring real-time performance and connecting it to point systems, etc. This has been pretty widely imitated, I think, first here in Japan by Smappo, which was acquired by Rakuten, and then the past 2 years by 2 companies, one by Docomo and one by Recruit. They all are based on the same technology, which is installing an ultrasonic transmitter in each store, which means that it takes time to ship the transmitters and install them. It costs money, so they can't just let anybody and everybody try the system out. Our solution uses the camera on a smartphone to verify that someone is inside the store. Because we have no hardware costs, we can let anyone who wants to try it just try it. We have no time delays through shipping or installation. A belated introduction, I'm an engineer, Tyler. My specialty is in computer graphics, computer vision. I've been in R&D for about 10 years, mostly at Sony, probably at the same time as the keynote speaker. My partner, Wakasugi-san, has been in ad tech for quite a while. Most recently, he's been helping Japan's first deep linking store app develop their technology. So our technology takes images from a camera and compares it to map data that's created ahead of time. We've been developing this for about a year. We think that this technology itself has a lot of value, judging by a few high-value exits already in this space, purely based on technology. We can do indoors, outdoors, underground. We can get up to 1 centimeter precision, which is about 1,000 times better than GPS. We want to use this technology first, though, to solve a real problem. So no hardware is our advantage. A retailer can get going in 10 minutes with this system. By contrast, Docomo is the only one offering public signups, and they estimate 3 weeks for a retailer to get started. So, in a sense, we'd be democratizing walk-in point system and making it available to small and large retailers. Monetization is basically the same as all of the others, flat fee per walk-in. We get to reclaim unused points. We'd also like to charge retailers to contact their customers. For example, send coupons to customers who haven't visited in the past month. This is something that they can do now. I'm just going to skip this one. So we're just at the seed stage, just getting started now. We've developed the technology, and building the actual point key system is what we're going to do from now. We're estimating around 6 months to the minimum viable product. In the future, there are a number of different possibilities. I'd particularly like to do point systems, offering them to small retailers who probably benefit from them but don't have them now. Also going international with partners and integrating with point-of-sale systems. I think that's it for me. I should press the button. Can we get the presentation back? Think that's questions?
Hello. Okay, so you zipped through that really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And so can you just explain it, as if you're explaining to a kid what exactly it is? I mean, so a customer walks in, what, they take a picture of the store? Yeah, I mean, can you...
Using our system, or like the concept of walk-in points?
The concept, yeah.
The concept, so like, so you have an app on your smartphone and you look and you say, oh, near me there's a clothing store that's offering points, 50 points.
Yeah.
So you walk into the store, you open the app, you press check-in, and you get 50 points in your app. And at a later date you can exchange those 50 points for gift certificates like on iTunes or Amazon or something like that.
Okay.
And you can save them up, and of course, like, save up not just 50 points, but save up to like 500 or 1,000. So the equivalent of $5 or $10, and change that again for gift certificates.
Okay, got it.
So thank you for your presentation. So what's the difference between your product and competitors like Novi or Shopkicks? Please just clarify.
So basically, from the customer's point of view, it's the same, except, well, it's basically the same from the customer's point of view, the shopper's point of view. From the retailer's point of view, the difference is that ours can be implemented immediately. If they decide they want to try this walk-in point thing, they search for it on Google, our webpage comes up, and they can just get started immediately, like in 10 minutes or so. Whereas with the other systems here in Japan, at least, Docomo is the only one that has a public sign-up process. The others have no public, you don't know how to get started with any of the others. With Docomo, you submit an application, and again, they estimate about 3 weeks to get started. After you install an ultrasonic transmitter, or I think Docomo might actually be beacon-based. But you have to install hardware in your store, so that's the difference, the time to get started. And then also I think that we could probably offer a lower fixed cost per month because we don't have any hardware to maintain.
Do you have slide explain that part of strengths or
explanations? So
it's too quick. That's why.
Sorry. So this is the difference to retailers. So other systems require special hardware to be installed, and that takes time to ship and install and then set up. In some way, you're paying for the hardware. The stores will have to pay for the hardware because it does cost money. Also, I didn't mention it in the talk, but judging from the comments on the App Store, it doesn't always work very well. So by contrast, ours would be easy to set up, easy to get going, potentially a little bit cheaper, and hopefully more reliable. Okay. But for customers, it's the same, basically.
So I think that you have a little bit of a chicken and the egg problem where you're going to have to get a lot of people to download the app to make it useful to the merchants. So how are you going to solve that problem?
Yeah, that is the big problem, I think. We're thinking to start very locally and focus on particular shopping districts in Tokyo. In particular, like Harajuku, where the customers are pretty tightly focused. And to start building up stores there at the same time as we start building up customers there. And then at some point, we need to, the way that the other companies started, like Shopkick, was basically to get the participation of a number of nationwide retail chains. First, when they get signed on, then they start the app, and then getting app users is the same thing like a very popular system recently, which is basically pay users to get other users. So you get half the points of everyone you introduced for 2 weeks. So that's how other people have grown the user base, like customers. I think that's a good way to go. In terms of getting companies to sign up, then we'll have to rely on traditional advertising, and again, focusing like on a very limited shopping district at first, and then trying to grow it.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I'm assuming that as a shopper, I have the app downloaded, I walk into a shop, I open the app, I check in, and they take some photos or video?
No, so we do use the camera, but that will be mostly hidden from the user. It's not going to look like a camera application. So our app would be installed, the Pointy app would be on your phone, and you walk in and you say check in, and it'll be recording video or something. The way all of these apps work is to tell you to go to, say, the register on the first floor, and then press the check-in button. Ours would be the same, except you would say go to the register on the first floor and point your phone at the register, and press the check-in button.
So my question is related to how are you connecting that data that you're collecting from the phone, be it an image, video, plus a check-in, and connecting it to validating it in the store? Because this is your value proposition, right? That just through software alone, you can give a more accurate validation of the customers in the store.
Yes, so the system works by comparing those images to a map essentially that's created ahead of time. So the store employee, when they start using the system, goes to the register area and they go with the administration interface and they say, register this
So the
area.
store has to give you its layout and content and
No, it's not layout, no. Like it's up to the store where to do the check-in. They want us to tell customers, come to the register on the first floor. And as a pre-process, they go to the register area on the first floor and they record it. And then we essentially compare customers' pictures to the pictures that they've taken. It's not quite that simple, but basically.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Yu, co-founder and CEO of Amazing Type. First of all, please let me introduce about myself. In 2010, my mother had passed away. When she really passed away, I tried to get information about funeral service companies and funeral costs by my iPhone, but I couldn't find any accurate information. My mother had prepaid about 2 million Japanese yen for the event of her death. But when she really passed away, I had to pay additional 2.7 million Japanese yen. I was furious with anger, and I made a decision. Someday, I will disrupt such an anarchic, expensive, and dubious industry by bringing the internet technology, even if it might be a Pandora's box in the industry. That's the story, how Amazing Life was founded. Today, 25% of Japanese population is over 65 years old. Last year, 1.3 million Japanese people passed away, and this number will increase to more than over 1.4 million by 2020. Current Japanese funeral service market size is about 16 billion US dollars. 24 million Japanese families already had prepaid for their funeral service costs. In total, size is about $23 billion, but they couldn't refund because around 50% of those money already spent
by the traditional funeral service company. This is a very, very big and serious issue in Japan. Of course, Japanese government suggested them to solve the problem by March 2016, but it might be an impossible mission, and it also a good opportunity for us. Japanese funeral service average cost is about $20,000. Why Japanese funeral so expensive? Yeah, not enough time. Very sad. Very unfair situation between their family and funeral service company. Almost all payments are required by cash only. That's why Japanese funeral service is very expensive. We are providing simple cremation service, simple castle, and simple funeral services, simple soul, to solve the problems of customers' experience at their life-ending situations. Our services are very simple. Our services are the first service in Japan that people could estimate, order, and pay by credit card 24 hours a day by their smartphone. Very easy to confirm the service details and add more optional services. We are organized by 4 experienced members, and at this point we are at the seed runner. Ikeda Head is very featuring us. So that's it. We are planning to launch another iPhone app soon to protect families' assets after their life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I gotta be honest with you. God forbid anybody close to me passed away. The selling point for me wouldn't be that I could conveniently do it from my phone. And I think that you're kind of stuck on that. That's not really the area that you should be selling. You should be selling the transparency, you should be selling the price. And if those are the selling points, I actually don't think that there are many other players in this market, to be frank with you. It's a massive market, that's true. I think it's probably one of the biggest in the world, cremation services, right? Yeah. In Japan. So it's a huge market, but there are a lot of players that are already doing this. Probably if you had done this 10, 15 years ago, I mean, you're right, it was very dubious and not a lot of transparency, but there are a lot of players that have already come into this market and have brought the transparency, and so you can pretty much do it for $3,000 even. So I don't think that it's really that new, to be honest with you.
Thank you. So we organize our service schemes with the very small funeral service companies, and we are serving them to survive, to get their customers via internet, and all of our current customers are passing away people's daughter around 50 years old. So they are the very, very heavy user to sell to buy a product via internet, and they are having a smartphone. And at this point, our service is the only service to fix the price, prefix the price before the ordering, because almost all funeral service companies cannot fix the cost, because Japanese cremation hall is not enough numbers. So sometimes customers have to pay additional cost to
2 days, 3 days cost. But we are providing a fixed cost. But we have no salesperson and call centers, and we can manage the company with very low cost. That's their competitive bonus of us.
Hi. So can you tell me a little bit? Do you have customers now? And also, going back to James's question, how are you able to fix this price? I mean, everyone's got the same problem, right? So how are you able to schedule and make this transparency and fix it, whereas others can't? What's the solution that you provide?
To fix their prepayment money is, to be honest, this margin rate is not fixed. Sometimes this margin rate will be 10%, sometimes 20%. But we're I think this scheme is the best solution to sell this product via internet. To have a specific conversion rate with very low cost, even if our cost may be a bit higher sometimes.
I think you're targeting an exciting market with huge opportunity.
Thanks.
My question is around the relationship with the local service providers. So you said you're gonna disrupt them, but your business model also depends on those local service providers. How are you gonna encourage them or persuade them to get on board while you're saying that you're gonna disrupt them?
Good question. There are about 6,000 funeral service companies in Japan. And 23-25% of funeral service company is less than 3%, very small size. And this service is very hard to promote and push sales, right? So that's why 23% of small size funeral service companies are going to die. Average rate is 10%, 30% a year. So we could solve them to survive. And our same enemy is the large traditional funeral service companies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, we presented this morning, so I would like to adjust this to good afternoon. Konnichiwa, thank you for being here. When I was a child, there was 2 places where I spent most of my time. The first place was the gym. I loved gymnastics, and there was no other place my 8-year-old self would rather be. But I couldn't always be there. And that's because I was here, in the hospital, or I was at home, attached to these tools, instead of playing on the balance beam with my friends. Why? Because I had asthma that was incredibly difficult to manage and greatly affected my childhood. Sadly, I am not alone. In the US, there are 7 million children who suffer from asthma. It is the most common childhood disease worldwide, and if left unmanaged, can be life-threatening. There is an estimated 250,000 deaths yearly, premature deaths, that are contributed to asthma. And research shows that most of these could be avoided. Current asthma management is still using the same tools that I used 15 years ago. Our team is going to change that. We have designed a systematic solution to help parents and their young children better manage their asthma. This is Breezy Not Wheezy. It's a smartphone asthma management app with a compatible peak flow meter and a medication reminder companion for the child in the form of our mascot, Rocky the Raccoon.
So when we conducted our field work, we found that 100% of parents who manage their child's asthma wish it were easier, and 100% of children do not enjoy managing their asthma. No surprise, right? But what we did find is that parents who leave their children would be more engaged in their child's healthcare and asthma management if it was fun, game-like, and interactive. And that furthermore, not only do they want, but they're willing to pay for a better solution.
Parents want a better solution. And our solution is composed of 3 devices that work seamlessly together. The first device is a digital peak flow meter that attaches to the smartphone and collects the lung capacity data of the child. The smartphone app takes this data and allows the parent to visualize it over time for trends and share this information with their physician in order to create more effective asthma management plans. The third device is a plush toy that the child keeps with them when they're away from their parents, for example at school. The toy lights up to remind the child to take their medication or their inhaler. We believe that it's really important that this design is fun and engaging for the child. For example, when the child blows into the peak flow meter, there's a fun interactive display on the smartphone as demonstrated in our video. Nope, not there.
Okay. There was a really sweet video there, so apologies. But we will talk a little bit about competition, which is to say, when we examine the competitive landscape, we found that there are people out there who are trying to develop asthma management technology for smartphone use. However, there is no one who's looking at childhood behavior. There's no one who's developing a specifically designed solution systematically, holistically for young children. And in the early ages of life is when the most important healthy habits are formed. If you develop early healthy habits, they have exponential positive impact on your long-term care.
Hi everyone. So yeah, when trying to develop this product, pretty much we thought about Larry Page and his toothbrush test, where you use it twice a day, and we think kids would. So basically we're looking to target a sweet spot, so kids between 3 to 7 years old, and their parents who are mostly tech savvy, willing to download an app and use it smartly. Our brand strategy is reflected in our product with the design. It's got very round angles, childlike pastel tones. It's user intuitive, and it's very playful as well. We have this marvelous little raccoon that we wanted to present in the video, but we might do that after. And we've got regular feature updates as well. Promotional study will do all that smart new companies do online with SEO and pay-per-click, but we'll also use PR intelligently and try to influence specialized press, pediatricians, and of course medical associations, which will be critical to get traction. We've got the operations plan all set up. First year we launch, we get the FDA approval, we sort out the packaging, website launch. Year 2 we push the sales and the promotional effort. We do some iterative improvements on the mobile app, and we do some more staffing. In the 3rd year, we do reinvestments in R&D because we need to keep the bar high. There's quite a high level of competition in the field at the moment, and we do tech updates and improvements. Very quickly on finance, and that's what we're interested in also, the price, $29, just slightly above the price of a regular peak flow meter on the market. Peak flow meters that are not smart, so not powered by an app that analyzes data behind. We have a freemium model where the app is free and the device comes at a price.
Okay, time's up. Thank you very much.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. This is really interesting area that we are always looking at, the healthcare so-called. A couple of questions. One is the accuracy of the data. So you collect the data through the smartphone with a gadget. So how accurate the data will be? That's the first question. And the second is FDA approval. This is always the issue for every healthcare startups to come over. So how likely or unlikely you get this challenge solved?
So those are both very good questions, and we did find within one of our competitors that there is a company that's developing a digital compatible peak flow meter with the smartphone. However, their target is to adults, but the technology is being developed. As far as the deregulations. Normally peak flow meters are non-prescription, and so we would develop it privately. But that is also a challenge that we would have moving forward.
Also, if I can just complement, basically with the analysis of this data, what's interesting is that all the data is collected by our system, and then as a doctor, because this is the point, also providing an interface where actual medical professionals can access, they can themselves extract the meaning out of it. And the problem is that most of the kids are not proactive in dealing with the information, so it's really hard to get actual, real data from them. And this way, by being so playful and engaging, well, they're very happy, you know, to get all that into a system.
And
We're
just,
happy to, yeah.
And just to add to that, currently parents have their child do a peak flow meter twice a day, and they have to write it down in a journal and keep track of it.
Everybody does that.
I would like to know your sales and marketing strategy very briefly.
So, sales strategy, we'd like to sell, our objective for the first year is to sell 1,000 units. It's a pretty reasonable objective considering that there's 7 million kids with asthma just in the US.
How do you sell? Like by yourself or working with some
We have a website with a sales system. We're aiming to drive 60% of our sales to this channel. The rest would be done with partnerships. And we've looked at very interesting papers that were published about Amazon looking to expand into the healthcare. They're very much looking for new technologies like this that are very user-intuitive that you can sell. Our device is not sold with prescription, so it means you can buy it as a private customer on any platform online, pretty much. So this is it for the proportion.
And I would just add to that in the U.S. market specifically, regulatory shifts occurred about 5 years ago that allowed most, if not all, medical companies to go direct to consumer. So in that case, we don't have to navigate through the healthcare system to sell this device.
Is this product already made? It's not made yet, right?
No.
Okay. So I love it. I think that a lot of people think that this smartphone revolution, where there's a lot of interesting startups coming from the introduction of the smartphone, is over because Uber is there and Instagram is there. But I actually think that there's a lot more opportunities, and this is probably one of them. But the problem is that hardware startups are very, very difficult to execute. And I've actually made one hardware investment, and we've had trouble shipping. And a lot of Kickstarter projects don't ever get shipped. So I just want to know about your background and what stage you are in the production.
Sure. So Ken and I are both product designers. So we come from a space where we're very familiar with developing our product and how that life cycle works. We also would develop out an advisory board to make sure that we're going to market in the most efficient possible way and making sure we're avoiding any of the potential pitfalls that have gone through other Kickstarter campaigns or campaigns that are trying to get a product like this that sits with an iPhone to market.
So I want to thank you.
And quick one, guys, if you're looking for 150 grand and I put in an offer today, who's all in with me full time and where is the company based?
Well, I'll answer that. I suppose we're all very committed to this. We believe wholeheartedly in early childhood health, and Anna has lived through asthma. I have lived through a lot of health issues myself. So we're all in as far as we're concerned. In terms of where it's based, we are geographically ambiguous. We are New York based, however, we're currently living in Tokyo. We move where we need to be.
Also, another thing between our team, what's quite interesting is that each of us comes from a different background. We have a bit more design and advertising and product design on this side, and I come from a more marketing, finance-oriented background. So both of us approach usually things in a very different way, radically, but it's been fruitful, as you know.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jeff Sanford. I'm co-founder and CTO of Rolling.io. Today I'd like to introduce you to our website localization service. So if you have a website in English and you have to display it in multiple languages, using Rolling.io, you can do that. So if you're going to build a website, what language would you create it in? English? Japanese? Would you consider multiple languages? Before working on this problem, I wouldn't even consider it. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind. I would think, English is good enough. Everyone speaks English. But the truth is, that's not the case. And I think that's a huge missed opportunity. So there's 3 billion users on the internet today, and 70% of those users are non-English speakers. So with my English-only website, 70% of the world is shut out. And worse than that, I'm limiting my potential to 30%. So if there's such huge opportunity, why are more sites localized? Let's think about it. So the first thing you think about when you're localizing a website is getting your translation. So let's see, I need to find a translator. I need to get a quote. I need to figure out what I'm going to do if I change my original content. I need to figure out, are they actually giving me real translated content? So at this point, most people have already given up. It's too much work. English is good enough. But for those of us who have gotten to this point and have a translation, you might think, all right, I'm done. I can localize that website. But the truth is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Very important, but it's one of many things you need to consider and take care of. For example, when a user first comes to your website, you present multiple options for them. You guess their language. You just give them English and hope it works out. Okay, so I want to access that 70%, but it's a lot of work, so what do I do? So we've written Woven.io to be simple, quick, and easy from the first line of code. And it's free as well. Let's give you a demo really quick. So I have a website I'm working on. It's a breakfast taco website. Okay, I'd like to display this website in multiple languages. So right now it's in English only. So in order to display this in multiple languages, the first thing I need to do is to go to my Woven.io account. Oh no. If I can sign in. Oh boy. My password is too long, I think. Okay. Alright, so I'm logged into my Woven account. So what I need to do is I need to copy this code snippet, and I'm going to insert it into the HTML of my website. And after I've done that, I'm going to click New Page. So at this point, I need the URL of the page I want to translate. So I'm going to grab this URL, copy that, and put it here. And we're going to detect the language, and we're going to give you a title as well. So on the left side, we're going to see all of our original content, and on the right side is our translated content. So let's do Spanish. We have a professional machine, but machine is faster, so let's do that for now. I'm going to publish the website, and then when I reload, you'll see in the bottom right corner comes the Woven widget, and we can switch right there. One of the positives of Woven.io is you have complete control over the content that is displayed. So I'd like to show you a few websites that are using it. I'm going to fly through this. There's a Japanese website. We have it in 4 languages. There's an American website, and we have it in 2 languages. There's a Mexican website, German website, Panamanian website, and we also have a Korean website using it. So this is some of many websites that are using it. So as you saw, there's 3 steps. So to insert the line of code, you have to enter the page to get started and translate your website. So in these 3 steps, Woven.io has unlocked that 70%, and they've connected those users to your website, and they've allowed your website to access the users as well. So about us, we launched about 5 months ago. We have 3,000 registered domains, over 60,000 translated pages. Our user base is here. And our business model is we're going to add paid subscription plans. We're going to add a service fee to those pro translations. And our market is the world's website. So we want to make a tool that can be accessed, that can be used on any type of website. Thank you very much.
Can you go back to the paid subscription plan?
Yes. So we actually, right now, this is in private beta. Nothing is set in stone yet, of course.
Okay, so you're still kind of playing around with the price, or you don't even have the paid version yet, right?
We have so the features are in private beta right now, but we don't have the actual plan set price or anything yet.
Okay. And so on in the background, Django is running, right?
Yes, Django is in the professional translations.
Okay. And Django's awesome, by the way. And so so I want to know eventually, because you're gonna have to be paying Django, right?
Right.
For professional translations. Or are you going to vertically integrate and start doing the same thing as Django? Are you going to be creeping into that area eventually?
Yes and no. We're not planning on. We're always planning on keeping Django as one of the options, but we'd like to provide more options. So we want to provide higher quality for higher price, and then medium price, medium quality, and then also free options.
All right. So I know that you're still playing around with the pricing model, but I'm just wondering whether it's going to be reasonably cheap enough for anybody to just use it, because you still have to pay Django, right?
Right. So the page that I showed you earlier, I didn't have a chance to show you, but it's about $5 to translate that page. And we'd like to roll that. We'd like to build it so that when you add new pages, you're only paying for the new content on the page, not the repeated content of menus and everything. So it ends up being cheaper than you expect, actually. We've been surprised as well. So. But it's something we need to work on as far as different levels of quality and different levels of pricing as well. So we want to offer a lot of options for people.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It's also important to know that if you want to write your own, you can also write your own translation as well.
Yeah, thanks. So can you tell me about, you blew through that customer slides, but
yeah.
So how did you get your current customers up to now, and what are you going to do?
Okay, so we really haven't done much marketing yet because we're still kind of in public beta, we're considering. But most of this is from a few articles that have come out on like TechCrunch Japan, and we also were featured in Product Hunt. That's where a lot of our recognitions come from. But it's basically just from a few articles here and there, really.
And then what's the plan?
To get more. So as far as the Japanese market, we are partnering with some larger companies to integrate Woven with their websites, and that's going to help us to build our market here. As far as abroad, we're planning on going to do the same thing with larger websites, but also to talk about localization and talk to people why they need localization and how they can use our service to do that. Because we think it's a big problem is that they don't see the need for it yet, so we'd like to help people do that more.
Okay, and one more thing on the technical side. I mean, basically, you're talking about translating text-based HTML.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if there's what happens to sites that are beyond that? They have added layer of complexity, in terms of code.
So as far as the images and stuff, I'm concerned, we're working on that right now. But other things such as dynamically loaded content, that's something that we're working on as well. And also we're working on new products, basically that you can use Woven to IO that's going to solve those problems as well.
And finally, your team.
Our team is myself and our co-founder is Japanese, and then we have a third person who's working with our community, and we have more developers coming on next year.
So my question is, what you have quite often, how this is different from so-called Google Translation?
Okay, good question.
Yeah.
So Google Translate, they're gonna translate it for you on the fly and send you the results, right? But you don't know what's gonna come back. If they change the algorithm or something changes, you can't anticipate that. But with our service, you can not only take the translation from the machine, but you can edit that. So for example, if you are writing an article about Saiko, which is a lake in Japan, Google says Westlake, but that's not what you want to say, right? So in this case, you can change it yourself and make it Saiko. And then
even with Google, so the translated the text is not perfect. It's half complete, and people need to take care of it to make it perfect. So in your cases, the quality of the translation is much better than the Google.
Yeah, I would say the professionals would. Yeah. And then also if you're bilingual yourself, you can do it yourself as well.
Thanks for your presentation. So, can customer manually correct the translation?
Yes.
That is one question. Okay. Yeah. And second, can you integrate your tool to CMS vendor like Wix or something? And I think it's better to expand your business because they are providing a lot of great home pages.
Right.
And if you are integrated, you can expand business.
That is what we're working on right now. Actually, is working on making Woken into a tool that can be used in any kind of environment. Right now, we have this environment we want to offer environments that work with Wix and all kinds of CMSs, Drupal or Joomla or any kind of WordPress and stuff like that. So it works with that right now, but we want to integrate better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, my name is Maki from Carry On, and I'm so glad to have this opportunity today to come up here to your campus. This is my operator since my graduation, which is more than 2 years ago. Well, my company Carry On is operating an online platform, online community to share pre-owned children's clothing. We make it fun and easy to share pre-owned children's clothing. And we have 2 key features that makes us very different from other competitors like free market apps or online auction sites. I'd like to show you the demo first. Most of our users and owners who are outgrown their children's clothes. First, you can their clothes to see from their pockets. And then they can use it to promote the messages that are more original arrangements like size and color to our website. Satisfying that we never learn different from other competitors from now. The American Center from the Korean City first, and after we will have all the items and we will after the sale for free. On the other hand, our audience consumers can easily browse their website and they will find the items they might like. Once they place an order, we immediately have it sent from our center to the buyer's directory, like Amazon. We make the delivery as soon as possible. And after the delivery is completed, this is basically personal online transactions, so they both sellers and buyers will put feedback comments on the website. So, as you can see on the video, the first of our key feature is our logistics system. We offer free proxy sales and receiving, packaging, and shipping. So if you want to sell something with us, you just send them to us and nothing more to do. This mechanism can provide benefits for both sellers and buyers. All the sellers are free from all hassle procedures to make online personal transactions. And our buyers can receive same-day shipment like Amazon, even if they buy from several different sellers. And with this mechanism, we succeeded in developing totally new users who have never experienced online personal transaction before. So the average number of items per exhibitor is 29, and the average number of items per order is 45. The second key feature is our payment system. Our sellers will receive points instead of cash that are equivalent to the value of the selling price. So if you sell something for $10, you will receive $10 from your points, and then you can apply those points to buy new clothes for your children. It makes our users stay loyal with us and increase their loyalty and increase their lifetime value as well. With this mechanism, we've already developed our business in various ways, such as courtesy program to our exhibitors, supported by 3 large corporations such as Shiseido. So our exhibitors can have cosmetics or free use self-prepaid service like cookbot upon exhibition. And also, we may establish an account for corporation to sell their excess inventory. And also, kindergarten and nursery account will help us about continuous collection. And we are not virtual, but also real, and have free market available to the Japanese largest shopping mall as well. children's clothing. Instead of throwing away, you can pass it from mothers to mothers with us. We launched this service 6 months ago, 4th of June this year, and in the last 6 years, we gave more than 6,000 items at our fulfillment center, and there were more than 2,000 transactions already made. So wherever the logistics infrastructure and the payment system of e-commerce is settled, our business model can expand. And we will be more than happy if we can work with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the great presentation. 2 quick questions. One is, you seem to offer a lot of services for free. Where do you actually monetize? And the second question is, C2C marketplace is booming, and there are other apps like Mercari or Phil that does similar things, but they take a lot of categories. They do good things other than children's clothing. Well, what's the advantage of your service by being a specialty store rather than like Mercari that does everything?
Well, regarding logistics costs, one of the largest costs of inaugurating C2C platform is customer service, because there are lots of varieties of problems between buyers and sellers, and there will be a big cost to solve them and to prepare the customer service. But with our structure, there is no problem at all, because buyers and sellers never communicate directly. So instead of preparing customer service center, we decided to have logistics instead. So that's our cost management. And to the second question, other competitors like free markets, apps, doing 2 varieties of items, everything, but we are vertical in children's clothing. And in that segment, we are segmenting our goods. At the same time, we're segmenting our users as well, because most of our users would be mostly mothers. That's a big difference.
So if I want to sell my kids' clothes, I take a picture with the price on there, and someone makes a purchase, and then you handle all the logistics on the commission. So the inventory risk is very small, I'm assuming, because you already know that the transaction is going through. So you're not actually buying the clothing from the user. So you're not purchasing it and having it in a warehouse and then listing it. It's directly right away. You're doing logistics, and then maybe you're washing it in between.
You're going directly to logistics and going directly to the buyers.
Straight to the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to check out this here, what the revenue is again. So basically, how your margins are. You're going to be swapping points for cash, right?
No swapping points to cash. Well,
I mean, you're collecting cash and giving out points.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be taking margin on that, because one yen doesn't equal 1 point, or how does that work?
well, we have 2 types of users. One type is selling and buying. And the second type of users is only buying. They don't have any goods to sell online, but they still want to have something good at good price. So if you haven't sold anything in price and have no points, they can buy with real money, and that makes a revenue. So another type of
to take you on behalf of my team in a different world, the world where unicorns run free, into the world of the B2B software and services in Brand Academy. So Brand Academy is a mobile training and loyalty management system that it has been existing for 2 years and is already sold and used by major brands in Japan and internationally. My team and I have a history of developing big ticket softwares, mostly for sales and training purposes, for brands and organizations. And we built a lot of sales and marketing tools, either mobile applications or web applications. And we realized that even though we thought these products were good, the main messages, the main information was never really going across and reaching the end users. So we started thinking about, okay, what are the flows and the ways of improving training and internet communication within companies and organizations. So I'll start with the training and the internet communication flows. Most of the companies, even super big ones, as a matter of fact, use primarily PowerPoint presentations. So PowerPoint is really good when you actually here right now to comment on them, but when used online, because obviously when you reach a certain scale, I'm talking about big companies, you cannot run offline trainings. So when used online, obviously the biggest problem is tracking, the lack of tracking, so you don't know who's looking at the material, you don't know who's understanding the content, and over time you start having also version problems, not knowing if they look at the old or the new version. For those of you who've tried e-learning systems, most of them are really boring. E-learnings have been developed mostly into the 90s, even though it's a huge industry, so let's say $15 billion market, it's pretty much boring and looking like an Excel sheet. The other flaws of most of the actual solution is that they're desktop-based only. So obviously nowadays people want that on their mobile and on their tablets. Last but not least, and this is an important angle to our solution and our beliefs, is that it's basically who you train. Most of the tools that exist today are dedicated to training the people that you control and direct your employees directly. So basically people on whom you can force the training. And we realized that most of the companies actually, their key people is actually people that are into their second degree sphere. So typically it can be people who work into multi-brand point of sales, or people who work for some of the distributors. And not only these people are not trained, but more importantly, there's no communication between the companies, the brands, and those people, which should be the best ambassadors. So our system can not only be applied for staff and direct, but even more effectively to people in your network. So these are the points that we are addressing with Brand Academy. So you can think about it as what we imagine as being the training solution of 3.0 generation. So the Brand Academy is the first mobile training and loyalty management system. I insist on the fact that it's not only about training, it's really about internal marketing and communication. Because within this solution, we have two beliefs that are heavily represented. The first belief is that training, or good training, let's say, should be communication actually. And so it should be inviting, people should like to do it and enjoy it. The second thing is that actually training should reflect the new management system, so more from bottom up than top down. So the three key benefits that Brand Academy brings is knowledge, data, and loyalty. So knowledge is the training part, convey your message, your products, and your brand. But most importantly, build two-way communication and two-way conversation with the people in your networks, with access and internal CRM. And the last one is to build loyalty and engagement. So this is done mostly by the fact that it's happening into a branded environment and that there is gamification built inside the system. These are some of the stats, but I'll skip through that, but it has a lot of stickiness, and people are coming back to it. You have three main things that you can do: authoring, this is the backend, of course. Then you can gather the feedback, and you can basically integrate that into your improvement loop. The last thing is fine-tune with the gamification in order to drive the people where you want them to be. This is the backend. Our backend is very user-friendly. I'd love to show you the front end as well. This is an overview of the features. And fast to that. Our team is 5 people in Tokyo with a DNA in enterprise big ticket sales. We have currently 2 major clients, thank you, I love that. 2 major clients, Ivory, Ontario. And we have pilots running in all those companies and organizations as you see here. Thank you very much.
Edward? Hi, thanks for the presentation. Can you just explain to us a little bit how these clients are using the tool and how they pay for it?
So clients are using the tool differently. I will take the 2 examples here on top. So Tiger is a very good example. On a market like Japan, we're working with them internationally, but like in Japan, they have 3 boutiques that they control directly. So these are flagship stores, right? But they make 95% of their sales via 400 points of sales across Japan. Those points of sales are multi-branded, right? So with that comes the problems that I mentioned. One thing is that the staff that work in these shops, they're not their staff, the staff of the shop, right? So they have 0 communication with those people. These people don't know the products, okay, so they need to be trained. And last but not least, these people, they're not loyal to that brand. They have no particular incentive to teach that brand more than another brand. So with that tool, not only do you give them the knowledge to teach that brand better, but also via gamification, we incentivize them to actually teach that brand. And keep in mind that one of the key selling point of our solution is that it's cross-platform. Most of the users use it on their own mobile phone, so it's very different than going to your desk and do a training at your job. Right? You always have to think about it.
And are they paying for it?
Sorry?
Are they paying?
Oh yeah, hopefully. And also right now we're making in the low 5 figures with this solution, and we are very confident that next year we're going to be breaking the 1 million mark in revenues. And we're so far self-funded.
My only advice is that I wish I could have seen my demo.
Me too, actually. I wish I could have shown you one. But in 5 minutes, and actually today we didn't show you.
Okay, because it's really hard to picture why it's different.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to show you, we can obviously show you my highlights or whatever.
Yeah, thank you for that message. So, in addition to the mobile part and the gamification part, what is the differentiation? There's a lot of companies providing sales training. What are the key points of your differentiation?
Our key value proposition is actually very, very close to the lead sales one, so lead manager learning. Our value proposition is to do that for your training and internal communication. So one thing is most of the training solutions available on the market, they don't have an authoring tool built in, right? So what it means that you have to rely on outside vendors, usually quite expensive, to build the content, right? The second thing is measure. I wish I could have showed you also our backend, but our solution is really data-driven. And if you look at all the big trends into HR, it's all about data-driven solutions, right? So this big data aspect of it as well. And then, last but not least, the learn and reintegrate into your process what you get out of it. So this is all the feedback part, is that we're really incentivizing, notably via gamification, those guys to give you the feedback. So it's not only a top-down thing, it's really two-way communication. So these are the 3 main things, I'd say.
And who's your biggest competitor?
Our biggest competitor, they're down version where you basically put your PowerPoints in the cloud and you can know if people are looking at your PowerPoints or not. But just as a follow-up, this market is competitive indeed, but surprisingly, especially in the States, I think in Asia there's a very big opportunity, and especially in China, because this is very interesting when you're into businesses that have a high turnover of the staff. So think about the convenience stores or something like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Richard Carlo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of True to Materials. Thank you for the opportunity today to tell our story, to talk about our business, and to introduce a little bit about the most famous material we manufacture and design, which is called graphene. The graphene is a single layer of carbon atoms, and at this two-dimensional or near two-dimensional level, a lot of very interesting properties are realized. Whoa, that happened faster. For example, graphene is the thinnest, the lightest, the strongest, the hardest, the most impenetrable, the best sensing material we've ever discovered. And it's completely abundant. There is no scarcity. Given these properties and the fact that it's abundant, you can see why we're very excited about it. And perhaps it goes a long way to explain why Dr. Stein and Novoselov, who discovered it in 2004, won a Nobel Prize in 2010. True to Materials began post 3/11, and at that time, we were looking at making a new kind of photovoltaic panel. We wanted to use graphene, but frankly speaking, it was too expensive, so we made our own. We made a variety of samples, and we had a problem with one of those samples. The problem is that when it dried on the substrate, it actually popped right off. And what we were left with was a very, very ultra-thin film with some amazing properties. This is where we began, in a garage, a ramen-style home in East Osaka. And we began making films. Not very scientific, I'm sure, but we took this to the Nara Institute of Science and Technology and had them test our films. And that resulted in a 5-year agreement to have a lab and get access to all of the necessary equipment and all the talented people at NICE. My co-founder is William Regan. He's our scientist. And as well, we have a number of professors at NICE who help us, work with us, everything from characterizing our materials to actually developing things with them. These are our competitors. It's going very quickly on purpose. The fact is, a number of companies are making graphene. Most of these companies make, everybody starts with powder, most of them make inks, coatings, additives, and some of them also, or exclusively, make films. Only True to Materials can make a graphene film that is without a substrate. And that means that it's graphene and only graphene. If you think about it, a graphene film stuck on a substrate is not really a graphene film. We're the only company that actually can make them. I want to talk a little bit about what problem we're solving. We're solving a problem of form factor, scalability, and cost. This is the most expensive material in the world. Our competitors use what's known as a CVD, or chemical vapor deposition technology. I'll go quite quickly. They need to put it on a substrate, in this case copper. They're using very expensive chemicals, high temperatures, in a very clean room environment. It's quite expensive. And in the end, you end up with graphene on a copper roll, where you can transfer that onto PET or something else. Our methodology is quite simple. We actually spray the graphene. In the end, we end up with ordered graphene and where we're going to make our money. Specific application development and sales, as well as IP licensing. We began selling last week. We've already successfully sold a design, and that will fund us from now. So we are fully funded. We started with friends and family. We raised about $600,000 US, and that's taken us to the sales cycle. We've proven our concept. And in future needs to scale, we'll look at mezzanine financing and debt financing. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Can you elaborate more on the use of this material? Where do you see will be the first commercial use of this graphene material?
It's already used, but as an additive will be the first uses, I think. When you add graphene to, for example, an epoxy matrix, you're making some kind of plastic. 0.04% by weight of graphene means you essentially need 1/3 of the plastic. That plastic will now be 155 times stronger. You can have it conduct electricity if you like. You can have it resist thermal temperatures if you like. Much better than anything in the market. IBM made the first transistor out of graphene in February this year. It's 10,000 times faster than the fastest silicon on the planet. You can Google that yourself. We didn't do that. We didn't work with them on that. But the fact is, it's revolutionizing industries like semiconductors, water treatment, etc., etc. But little by little, it's new. Okay. Is this a question?
Hi, thanks for your presentation. You actually explained it really well for such a scientific product, so I appreciate that. But back to what's really making you different. So what I'm understanding is that this is 100% graphene film, whereas competitors have some kind of...
That's right. If you put graphene on copper, the copper has a different characteristic, and so does the graphene. It basically is fused into a composite. Now, if you look at the performance characteristics of graphene alone versus graphene on copper, it's a far superior specification. Beyond that, growing it on copper means you're growing it in a snowflake-like variety. Each and every piece is different. It's not ordered, it's random. We're able to particle control each particle and place it onto the sheet. So while it's not 100% ordered, we have an ordered structure, which means we can tune it, which means we can specialize it to a given industry. You know, as an example, today we had a great presentation about the child's asthma metering system, right? The sensor necessary to do that with graphene would be smaller than the pin, the head of the pin. It would absolutely be you wouldn't even see it.
So it's related to performance. Is it also cheaper?
Way cheaper.
So why aren't the rest of the competition doing this?
Because we've patented or we have a patent
So
pending on our process.
or the
Completely different process, yes.
So the process is patented.
Yes. And we actually have a couple, because frankly speaking, I talked about graphene, but there's an entire revolution in two-dimensional materials, and we can manufacture all of them as thin films.
And can you just explain in layman's terms the application of your first customer?
I can't really get layman's terms, but I'm actually not allowed to talk about the first customer. I took the customer that I want to get next, and they're a particle physics research organization. What they're doing is they shoot a very, very high-powered laser at a target, and they look at the plume on the other side of that target. And the data they get really informs them about what's happening in not only nuclear energy, but also in cancer research. And we have the flattest material they've ever seen. There's not a large dispersion if you shoot it with that laser. So the data that we're able to provide is head and shoulders above what is known as a diamond-like carbon thin wafers. So we think we can revolutionize that entire, and own that entire industry. Just because our material has no substrate, in that environment, it works in a very different way. Okay.
Could you show me your product?
I cannot, no. If you want to come to my lab, I can even show you how I make it. Okay, I have no problem with the secrecy side of it, but graphene's not something I carry around in my pocket.
concerns a small amount of people. In Germany, where we would like to launch, 7 million cars are sold each year, 7 million used cars, amounting up to revenue of 66 billion euros. In the densest populated metropolitan region, 1 million used cars are sold each year. And we found out that 85% of people are dissatisfied with the way they buy or sell cars. And all they really want is confidence, simplicity, and better prices. And I think Karma will be able to give it to them. Karma is a peer-to-peer network connecting trustworthy buyers and trustworthy sellers in a simple and transparent way. And this is done. The seller comes to our website and looks at the details of his car. We will then be quoted a price, upon which we will send out an inspector who's going to make sure that his car is Karma certified and meets all the stringent criteria to be listed on our website. If he accepts that price, we will then guarantee the seller that we will sell the car within 30 days. For buyers, it's even simpler. Because they have the confidence that all the cars that are on our website are actually tested and extremely of high quality, they easily fall in love with one of them, order them online, and pay us. We'll then pay the seller who held on to his car until the car is sold, until we find the buyer, and we will take care of the delivery from the seller to the buyer. And because we're so confident in this one, we'll actually give a 7-day return option for the buyer, so we can be absolutely sure. So if you think this sounds too good to be true, the reality is BP, the US startup, started this year. They launched in April, and in October this year, they raised under $60 million in funding. And Wall Street Journal recently valued them at $200 million. They give all the same guarantees, and the market that they launched in the San Francisco Bay Area is actually smaller than the one that we want to launch in. We want to focus on millennials in their 20s and 30s looking to buy us a car that's 6 years or younger. They make up 20% of the market, and we want to do so because we believe that Karma has the potential to actually change the way these people buy and sell cars. They will grow with the brand, and this will be the way that they buy and sell cars in the future. We're taking 6% service charge, and we're aiming at connecting 320 cars per region per month after about 1.5 to 2 years. By expanding to more regions, we will be able to reach a revenue of 8.8 million euros in year 4. Thank you.
So you're going to launch in Germany first?
Yes, yeah, that's right. So we would like to tackle the European market, and we would like to start in Germany in the densest metropolitan region, which is the Ruhr-Rhine-Ruhr region, actually the 5th biggest metropolitan region in Europe, with 11 million.
Are you formerly Rocket Internet?
No, I am not affiliated with Rocket Internet. I'm German, but I've just finished my master in Sydney on German exchange, and I'm going to go back to Germany, which is
Okay, so in San Francisco, there's a few of these, right? So maybe it's one of them. Shift is another one. I think there's one more. Is that one?
There's also Carvana, which is similar to
So there's a few. So it seems like there's a boom, and I do think that probably you're onto something. But I was wondering if there's a similar boom in Germany.
There's nothing so far in Germany that does this.
Okay, so you're the first.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're the only team member right now, but who you're going to hire, or?
I am the only team member right now, but part of my team always working on this with me is someone who's a marketing expert and who's been working in customer service, comes from hospitality background and then moved into marketing. And I also have a programmer of software developer in Berlin that has his own agency or his own software development company for 8 years, and he's going to work with us as well.
lucrative problems desperately needing solutions in Japan, such as expenses, bookkeeping, payroll, and accounting. Considering every business in Japan needs these services, the opportunity here is massive. $17.5 billion a year just looking at small and medium-sized businesses. We have 17,000 companies signed up, we have strong traction, a product filling a critical business need, and a wide open market that desperately needs a solution we've built. Our early traction is in the freelance and small business sector, but a typical freelancer only sends 8 invoices a month in Makepeace. Large businesses send hundreds or thousands of invoices, and considering each invoice that goes out is an opportunity for Makepeace to be introduced to additional customers, we've been moving up market. Of course, larger companies also have larger software budgets. So now, in SaaS, one of the most important numbers is the retention rate, the percentage of paying customers that stick around until the next month. We have a 98.01% retention rate, which is virtually unheard of for low-touch SaaS software. So clearly, we've effectively solved a very painful customer problem, and we are now firmly in the scaling and adding customer channel mode. As a result of our strong numbers and growth, we recently did a round of funding of $750,000, and our funding was led by Silicon Valley's best, one of Silicon Valley's best and most well-known investors, Naval Ravikant, the founder of AngelList. Dave McClure from 500 Startups and Keaton Shah from Kissmetrics also invested in this round. We've used this investment to grow out our team and make several key hires to allow us to reach our 2015 goals and add more customer acquisition channels faster. On top of this, we're building a lot of important integrations that are especially useful for larger-sized companies. As an example of an integration, Yayoi Kake is the #1 accounting package in Japan for small and medium-sized businesses by a commanding margin, and now it works natively with Makepeace. When I announced this at our user meetup this week, the room went wild, and I've never seen a crowd more excited by accounting software, but it's a great sign for us. So on top of this, in Q1 2015, we're rolling out partnerships with the world-famous CRM system, and we're also partnering with a payment processing company that will enable our customers to send and receive money through Makepeace as a value-added Makepeace service. We've got the funding, the team, the customers, the vision, and momentum to make an even bigger hit in 2015. Thank you very much for listening, and I welcome your questions. Sends out tens, hundreds, or thousands of invoices to other companies, which down the bottom has powered by Makepeace. So a lot of our customer growth comes from people receiving Makepeace invoices, researching about us, and signing up and sending invoices themselves. And we notice that especially is the case when people receive multiple Makepeace invoices from multiple companies, and they start thinking, well, what's this service that everybody seems to be using now? So that's one big driver of customers for us, and now we're building many more additional integrations to build out our ecosystem and to have a lot more partners introduce our services to their ecosystem as well.
Yeah, my question is about the competitive situation. So there's a invoicing SaaS company called Isoka. So how's their business or SaaS
service necessarily. You want to use a company that you can pay and trust to really take care of your business. And that's where we firmly positioned ourselves, moving in a much higher end of the market, medium to larger size companies.
I just got to say, I'm glad to see your continuous expansion. So I just want to make sure your strategy going forward. So you want to keep focusing on SMB and invoice management and current market approach, or I just want to hear from you about the sales strategy, sales organization. For that, you mentioned CRM, for example. So product strategy. So how do you plan to accelerate your business?
Sure. So I think that's quite a broad question. Let me try to break it down. I suppose for sales strategy, we separate that into two different areas, inbound and outbound. And due to the fact that we're very well known and we have a lot of users and a lot of people talking about us, we get a lot of inbound interest. So we have a sales team to capture and capitalize on that inbound interest and sell into those companies. But now, of course, we have investment, we have a lot more resources to build out our outbound sales as well. And we're exploring many different customer acquisition channels, including outbound sales calls, outbound faxes, which is something that might really work in Japan, but that's another customer acquisition channel that we're looking into. And yeah, just a variety of we have actually probably about 8 different ones that we're testing right now to find out 1 or 2 ones that work really well so we can quadruple down on our efforts into those channels. From a product roadmap perspective, we're going very deep on like invoice and document management because there's just so much scope there, so much stuff that needs to be done that is yet to be automated in Japan. So we see lots of tremendous exciting potential there, but we're regularly asked for a lot of different services such as expenses or payroll management. So there's just such a tremendous untapped market demand for these kind of services and for automating these kind of repetitive, manual, inefficient processes in Japan that we're just tremendously excited to nail the document management side first and then slowly expand into other areas of back office management and automation.
Thank you. Let's catch up on how we can progress each other.
Sounds great. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Great, thank you very much. That concludes the team pitches. Now the judges, if you can leave your things there, Sonny will escort you to the judging room. And we have some words from our sponsor. So today would not be possible without the support of a lot of great sponsors. Turkish Airlines is our platinum sponsor. Venture Generation has also been a big sponsor. Justa, Novo Nordisk, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and also our media sponsors, Antara News and The Bridge. So I'd really like to thank all the sponsors and a round of applause for them. So now I'd like to invite Jamil up and have a few words from Turkish Airlines.
Hello everybody. Jeff told me that I have only 5 to 10 minutes, so I will just introduce shortly my company. We are Turkish Airlines and we have flights from Narita and Kansai, Osaka Airport, 2 daily flights from Narita and daily flight from Osaka Kansai Airport. And especially in Europe, we are very strong network. We fly totally 103 destination cities in Europe. And I want to mention that because we sponsor today for Ticket to Madrid, i.e. Tickets to Madrid, Spain. And we have 6 the city we fly in Spain, one Istanbul, the new idea is important because we are in a very tough business, like aviation. Aviation is, as I told you, very tough, and you have to cost cut always. So we believe that new idea that we listen here, the 10 of them today, may help us to improve our cost and our profitability. And I want to say a couple more things about our we have the last 4 years we are #1 airline in the Europe according to Skytrax voted by the passenger. And maybe most of you don't know, but we are the #1 airline in terms of destination country. You may say that there is another airline, they fly more than us. Yes, that's correct. But they make them fly in many cities, one country. But in terms of country, we are #1 in the world. So as of today, we are flying 108 different countries in the world. So we believe that this is the very nice and large network in the world for the airline. And this is our new motto, Light the World. And maybe you know he is Messi, and Kobe Bryant, our brand ambassador. And we have commercial with them, so this is the part of this. I don't have time, so just one slide I can show you here today. I would like to say final word that I hope all 10 projects we see here today, they will have a great success in the future, and they make money. Thank you very much.
With uncertainty, he's very comfortable with uncertainty. Now, the way I like to talk about uncertainty is it takes you out of your comfort zone. So think about your relationship to uncertainty professionally and personally. Now, let me tell you my story, because a lot of professors talk a lot of academic theories and the like, but actually I have lived this, and that's why I'm telling you my story right now. Well, 1960, I don't think too many people here were born in 1960. Well, I was 8 years old in 1960, and in 1968. And I was a bit of an introvert, shy guy. I used to sell lemonade outside my home in order to meet new people. I was also a paper boy. This is pretty common in the United States. Well, in LA, where I was growing up in California, every day at 5:30 in the morning, a truck would leave a bunch of papers, and my mother and I would put rubber bands around the papers, and I'd put in the paper. Now, this is not a picture of me, all right? Because they didn't have digital cameras back then. But I looked like this, all right? This is 1984. I had long hair, I had a mustache, and I had glasses. Look at my curriculum. BA in Mathematics. Master's work in Computer Science. I had the Kodak Award for Excellence in Computer Science in 84. Today, that might look like a loser award, right, Kodak? Well, in those days, this was a big company. And I had my first job as a programmer in 1984. So what's the best way to describe me? I was a nerd. I hated uncertainty in my professional life. Now, not just in my professional life. This is a picture of me with my girlfriend. I was 17, captain of my football team. After 6 months, she dumped me. Do you know why? She said, Paris, I got friends. They got boyfriends that hit them, that cheat on them. There's excitement. You're so predictable. You're like a straight line. When you tell me I'm going to call you at 8 o'clock, why can't you call me at 8:10? Those 10 minutes were beautiful. Well, she dumped me. And it was at that point that I realized that being a nerd in your personal life wasn't always a good thing as well. Well, there I was in Boston, going to Boston University, then I ended up as a programmer, and I got a call from a friend of mine in New York City who says, Paris, I need a head of sales. Does this guy look like a head of sales? No. But he says, listen, I know you're a nerd, but I will train you. Okay? I will train you to get out of your comfort zone, to become comfortable with uncertainty, and I'm sure since I trust you, you can be a good head of sales. Well, sure enough, I left Boston and I joined his company. But before that, he had me do a 6-month training program. Now, I don't know how many of you have done telemarketing before, but it is difficult, especially for America. For 3 months, I had to sell encyclopedias all over the United States. I had nervous breakdowns, I cried, it was terrible. It was hard to learn that empty talk of sales. Sally, do I have a deal for you? I mean, there's no way that a nerd can speak that kind of garbage. But I had to learn. And after that, I had to learn to sell face-to-face. So after 6 months of training, I became a salesperson at his company. And I was such a good salesperson that after 6 months of working there, I was hired by a headhunter, and I joined UBS. But before I tell you that, I want to explain to you what had happened to me during those 6 months of that training program. I had been forced out of my comfort zone every day. That's how I got comfortable with uncertainty. I left Andrew, my boss, and I joined UBS. And that began my career of 21 years in investment banking. Now, in all my life, I've been a Monday person. Do you know what Friday people are like? You know those people that are smiling on Thursdays? Because they hate the week. Well, the world is full of Friday people, but all my life, I have been a Monday person. And for 20 years of investment banking, I was a Monday person. Until one day, I get a phone call from a top executive at Sony. And there I was in London, typical rainy day in London. And I was looking at the clouds. You can touch the clouds in London at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's dark. I was depressed. I realized I was a Friday person. But I was, doing deals and the like. And all of a sudden, I get this call from a big executive at Sony, and he says to me, "Paris, we got a problem. We need someone to organize a friendly match tour in Japan in 2004. I said, "I hate football." He said, "I know you hate football, but listen, maybe you know somebody." Well, that night I couldn't sleep. And in the morning, I woke up and I said to my wife, "Honey, I'm leaving the bank." She said, "Where are you going?" "Goldman Sachs." "Morgan Stanley." I said, "No, I'm becoming a sports marketing professional." She said, "What have you been smoking?" I said, "I'm not passionate about my work." She didn't talk to me for 3 days, and after 3 days, she said to me, "Listen, all right, I don't know what this passion about work is all about, but I suppose there are worse passions than could have hit you." In any case, I decided to quit. And I did. I turned 42. I realized I was a Friday person. I resigned from the bank. And sure enough, in 2004, I took the Valencia football team to Japan. Now, nobody knew Valencia in Japan. So what did I do? I brought Koyuki, the actress from The Last Samurai. Remember that movie? That's her. I took it to Valencia. All of Japan got to see this. And this turned out to be a very successful preseason tour in Japan in 2004. Well, it was so successful that in 2005, 6, and 8, I took Barcelona to Japan. Look at the smile on that nerd's face. I was alive again. Now, I was making a fraction of the money I was making as a banker, but I was alive. Well, that began my career in startups. I then had an advertising agency. I had a software company. I had a video game I wasn't too proud of. And so 5 startups, 8 years. 2 of them failed. 1 did okay, and the other did fine. The other 2 did fine. And then I woke up one day and I felt like a Friday person again. So I went to my wife and I said, "Honey, I'm tired of being an entrepreneur." She says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to become a professor." She said, "A professor?" Paris, people, when they change careers, they usually make more money. You have gone from investment banking to being an entrepreneur where you never knew when the money was going to come, and now you want to be a professor. I have never made so little money in my life. But you know what? I'm happy. Now, you might want to ask yourself, why did I become a professor in? Well, I decided to do something that I was very good at, which was people's relationship to uncertainty. Okay? So I studied what I call quants. People who struggle with ambiguity and uncertainty. These are the traits of quants. They don't like leaving their professional comfort zones. They have a closed mind sometimes. They're usually mathematical. They're obsessed with objectivity. Most of you here are probably quants. But that's okay. I studied them, 155 of them, during 6 years. That's right, I spent 6 years to get my PhD. Why? Because I was in Madrid doing sports and all this other stuff, and I went to IE Business School, and they said, you want to teach here? You need a PhD. I said, what's a PhD? He said, well, that's not very smart. Little guy. I said, well, you have a PhD? He said, yeah, I have a PhD. I said, well, if you have a PhD, I need a PhD. And sure enough, I did. It took me 6 years. Now, ask yourself, do you experiment at work? What is your relationship to uncertainty? A lot of people ask me, are we bored once? And look at me when I was bored. I was a baby nerd. I hated uncertainty. Now, my sister, she was totally different. She loved uncertainty. She was a partner since she was a little girl. Now, do you really think we're born wanting certainty in our lives? They did research in the UK. They found that 5-year-old kids, 97% of them were creative. They took the same 5-year-old kids at the age of 15, and only 12% were creative. What happens to us between the ages of 5 and 15? School, society, our peers, our parents. Now, we're not looking for certainty as a child. No way. We're very comfortable with uncertainty. Now, isn't it ironic that the world is more and more uncertain, and we are being trained for a predictable world? That's the reality. We come out of school, we're not prepared. Now, how do you become comfortable with uncertainty? Remember me when I got to New York from Boston? By being forced out of your comfort zone repeatedly. So, what is the right answer? Professionally, you need to be comfortable with uncertainty, so you need to be on the right side. Is there a right answer as a person? No. When I got to Boston, when I got to New York, I was comfortable with uncertainty after that training program. Professionally, what do entrepreneurs see in uncertainty? They see opportunity. That's why we need to think like entrepreneurs. That's why the right answer professionally is to be comfortable with uncertainty. But is there a right answer as a person? Do you think I was less of a nerd as a person in New York City? No. I'm 54 years old today, and let me tell you, I've been in Japan now for 2 weeks. I went to the same restaurant probably for 10 of those days. Why not? I probably ordered the same dish half the time. So, look at the scale and think about where you are on the scale. Okay? Where are you on the P and where are you on the W? The P is your personal life. I hated uncertainty in my personal life when I was in Boston. And I hated it in my professional life. That's why I was a programmer. I was a P1W1. What happened to me later? I became a P1W4. A W4 is a person that loves uncertainty because they see opportunity. If you're on the right side of this, you say more yes than no. Today I'm 54. I'm a P2W4. I've grown a little bit, a little less of a nerd than I was when my girlfriend left me, but not too much. So, where do you think Steve Jobs was on here? He was a P1W4. Where are you on this chart? Well, at IE Business School, we're doing this research now, and we've teamed up with University of California, Berkeley, to interview and survey as many people as we can. And we've now interviewed over 2,500 people. And what are some of the results that we're getting? Well, the reality is that entrepreneurs see in uncertainty opportunity. What do most people see? They see fear. It's a panic zone for a lot of people. Now, as I said, we've interviewed now over 2,500. When we started this research, it was 1,000. And what did we find? This is the interesting thing. Out of the 2,500 people we interviewed, those that were innovators and entrepreneurs, those that were W3s and W4s, guess where they were on their personal lives? P1, P2. Now, does that make sense? Sure it makes sense. Because life is a balance for many people. 80% of people today that are entrepreneurs or innovators, according to our research, are P1, P2s. So think about where you are. Why do you need to be a W3 or W4? Because the world is more and more uncertain. Where do you need to be on the P scale? It doesn't matter. many of us are convinced that our personality, that our character conditions who we can be professionally. It doesn't. We've now done 8 years of this research, and it does not matter. I was in Sao Paulo recently, and I had a lady come up to me after this lecture, and she said, "Professor, I'm a P4. How can I become a P2 again?" I said, "See me after class." No, I didn't. I don't know how you become a P2 again. I mean, can you really start to fear things that you did not fear before again? Well, I didn't think so. I actually thought that we could we could want to lead the life of a P2. But you're not going to fear that stuff anymore. That means I got a little left. So the more we're doing these talks all over the place, and our goal is to actually research and survey 1 million people in the next couple of years, we're finding that you can begin to fear things on the P scale that you didn't fear. Now, let me tell you, the reason why this is important, I was in Tunisia a few months ago, there was a lady there, totally covered, conservative Muslim. She said to me, "Professor, thank you very much." I said, "Why?" "Because all my life people have been telling me I need to change who I am as a person. You are the first person to tell me that if I'm happy, stay the way you are." So, that's the most important finding here, that we can stay the way we are. And what we actually found, we asked people, "Are you happier when you get out of your comfort zone professionally?" And the majority of people said yes. A great majority, especially IE graduates, because they are exposed to so much uncertainty and diversity every day. This was a picture a few months ago in Tokyo. Look at the guy on the left there. He's a P1. He came to me and he said, "Professor, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm doing pretty good in my personal life. Do I need to change?" I said, "Are you happy?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Why should you change?" So, what we're trying to say is you need to unplug. You need to go to W3, W4, and don't let anybody tell you that you need to change as a person to do that. The reality is that we can learn to be entrepreneurial in our mindset without changing who we are as a person. And in the words of one of my idols, do not settle. Don't live a life of a Friday person without living your passion, because it's sad to be a Friday person all your life. Life is too short to live without passion. Thank you.
Okay, so I was just hoping that we could get a few words of advice from all of you on or your feedback from today's session.
Sure. Thanks a million, Jeff. It was awesome to be here and a really interesting and diverse group of startups. Thanks a million to all the startups actually being involved. I thought in general the quality of presentation was really, really solid and people were really good in terms of how they were telling their story and explaining the problem solution and how their applications being used in the market. And for me, what was missing in many of them, not all of them, was detail on data, right? We're investors and we're very analytical, so we often want to see your metrics and your traction and what's going on, so slightly more focus on that would help me.
Actually, why don't you all come forward so you're not standing in the line? Yeah. Great.
So just a few words, right?
Yes.
Yes, and thank you for all the companies that made a presentation to us. All the press was so impressed. So it was very opportunity for us to have the time to really see us. So one advice we make is that given this short
have customers. So it's really hard to kind of compare them. For those sort of on a longer stage or more into business itself, I would start thinking about your exit strategy. No one really talked about that. We didn't ask that today, but what is your exit strategy? Do you want to sell? Do you want to IPO or what have you? What is your view about that as well?
Thank you for the presentation. My opinion is that the most important point is explaining about the competitive situation with competitors. Anyway, Google presentation is very speedy and explaining so service is very simple. We would like to use your service. Thank you very much today.
I'd like to ask William Saika to come up. Okay, so William's got a great book out, and he's got a copy for each of you. This is copy.
Okay, just a minute. Yep. Congratulations. It's in Japanese.
My farm, Fukushima farm, is established by the Japanese government. So our foundation is to understand and support Japanese promising culture and products like anime, manga, and Japanese food like ramen, sushi, and so on. And anyway, the
topics. This is a generic question. What do you see missing in some of the Japanese startups' pitches? Like, for instance, not today, but in general. If that's not something complicated, is there something missing in the Japanese company's portfolio?
I mean, there's no typical, Japanese using, it depends on the food they present. But in general, if I compare it to the US Silicon Valley-based startups, it's passion. Enthusiasm. Or I'm going to die if I can make this business work. People are, somebody mentioned earlier, people are tend to be, play smart. But the people that I met in the Valley, like in the US days, they have more, crazy. They are passionate and they are really, what are you crazy? This is crazy businessman that you never met. And, that, I couldn't find it in Japan. Japanese people, is very solid, smart, and very logical. And, but there's no dream. So something you're gonna excite the investor. If you want to excite the other person on the other side of the table, you have to be so excited. So that kind of thing, I would say is really missing in the Japanese entrepreneurs.
So entrepreneurs be passionate, okay? So I guess that's the key word here. So Koda-san, so you explained a little bit about that Sony deal that was just released yesterday or today. How many of those potential deals are you thinking of investing? Like what's the logic behind that?
Yeah, so the deal which we did with Sony is to rent an
So yeah, I was told that I had to do this on PowerPoint. I really wanted to do a keynote, and that's why I was built PowerPoint. There's supposed to be everybody around here. Anyway, let's just work. Right, so brief introduction. Originally born and raised in the UK. This is some of my background. Computer engineer for Japan Airlines, a website manager at Amazon, and product manager at Microsoft, managing some of their live services. Right now, I'm the director at our company, which is Mirai in Tokyo. And as mentioned, I do some stuff for the government, so I'm a member of the Creative Industries Internationalization Committee, and this is something set by committee, so that the folks gather together and they kind of decide the fate of Japan. And also announce, it's going to be announced this month, that the Japanese government have set up another one of these committees to decide the fate of Japan and how we are going to send out more of Japan to the rest of the world. And what I do now at Mirai is run an umbrella brand called Culture Japan. And underneath that brand, we have a few things. We have our own IP, a mascot character called Mirai Sunaka, and her friends over there. We also have a TV show called Culture Japan. This is broadcast on Tokyo Next TV and on terrestrial and cable networks around the world. And we also have a fashion doll called Smart Doll, and we have two samples over here. So let's talk about really quick about how we started the company. This is back in 2006, still at Microsoft. I was doing lots of stuff on rewriting. I was actually building websites for folks who introduced me and say, hey, Danny, I've got a client that wants a website that you can do something about. And I said, yeah, okay. And I was like building these websites on the side, and at that time we charged easily like 5 or 6 million yen for one website. And I amassed some of my clients so much that I couldn't do programming myself. So I started to hire programmers in like Romania, India, and some of the US, and which I found by asking Google Sensei. And this is in 2007, started to amass all these Japanese figurines, and I started to write lots about these figures and Japanese pop culture. On my back over there is my website, and a closer look, we can see that this is my mascot character, her name is Mirai Sunaka. And back then, I just wanted something pretty to kind of like decorate my website. And I didn't really realize that how such a big part of our business should be done. And this is my take. And in 2008, we managed to move offices. The first time we moved offices, and we moved down to the first floor of my house, where I was like an extra meter to play with. And 2009, I could afford to hire one member, and his name was Chris from the UK. And at this time, we had a platform that we developed called Mirai Gaia. It's CMS. It's to like content and e-commerce and so on. So then after a while, we started to amass clients like Konami, Bushiroad, Records, Guzman Company, and so on. So that started to like really slowly bring cash to the company. By 2011, please ignore that poster over there, which I forgot to was like I did it like this, not myself. Anyway, by 2011, we started to make a TV show called Culture Japan. So I actually approached, I approached Tokyo Next TV, and I said it would be really cool if we could have a TV show which was broadcast in Japan and across the world, which would highlight Japanese pop culture. And they said, yeah, sure, we have to find sponsors. So I went back to my client who is in Mirai Gaia and asked them to sponsor the TV show. And they said yes, and we managed to do 2 seasons, and each season I managed to raise 12 million for about each season. So making TV shows doesn't really make money, but it really depends on how much you save. And so we bought lots of IMAX, lots of other equipment, and through doing lots of filming and editing ourselves, we managed to save a little bit of cash. And this slide looks like it. Here are some of the broadcast leaders. And oops, I'm not going to do that again because it's not really so. But anyway, so 2012 we managed to move offices again due to expansion. But it was up to the second floor of the house. So third floor, first floor, and we up to the second floor because the first floor was like very cold and dark. And so this is also so we have the 2 employees. And at this time, we managed to create a set of Japanese landing cards. I call them Moikana and Moikanji. Moikana is for landing kana, Moikanji is for landing kanji. And so we used cash from what was left over from the TV production to make 10,000 capacities, and they sold pretty well worldwide. And so Moikana was actually one of the best. It was the 3rd best-selling anime product on anime in Japan. So even though these products were designed for gaijins abroad, many folks in Japan bought them for the kids to learn Japanese as well. And here's some samples of the cards. This is Moikana, and Moikana is now in its 2nd edition. And so by this time, Mira Tsunaga, she had gained much popularity around the world. And as you can see, it's for all races, all ages, and these are photos are taken at some events around the world of folks who have been to events and have purchased some goodies. And so Mirai, we did also a collaboration work with her, and this is her in her Asia students. So that's collaborations with Asia, those in Japan, those in Thailand, those in Indonesia. And this year she became a classic character for one of Indonesia's largest e-commerce websites called Binak.com. And last year she became the official mascot for Japan Tourism. And we made some maps over here, which have been distributed at many tourism events around the world. And they're also available at Narita as well. And then I also worked with the Japanese Ministry of Transport, and we worked on the Kanto region. So this is basically where you can travel and come back within a day. And this year, she became the official mascot for Malaysian tourism as well, and together we worked on a map of Kuala Lumpur, and this is being used to attract Japanese folks to this Malaysia. And we do some events, and so this is an event at, this is a booth at an event called the Comic Festa in Malaysia. And we have that booth at this in anime events around the world, like Los Angeles, Dubai, and Singapore, Indonesia, and so on. So Mirai, she's come back in these regions of Europe. And some of our Indonesian fans in anime festival in Asia. And we're back. So Mirai, she's actually got more friends over here, and each of them have their own set of fans in each region. This is back in 2012, me working on a prototype of a what I call a smart doll products over here. And I've always wanted to make fashion dolls for ignorance. And after doing some research, it's very difficult to find someone who could sculpt them. And these would be traditionally sculpted by hand. And couldn't find anyone who told me, so I said, so let me do it myself. And started to put it together using 3D software packages, like ZBrush and 3D Max. And so this is the ZBrush over here. And then at that time, I guess it was the right time, but also 3D printers were available for consumers to use. And so you just submit your data, and they would send you a 3D print back. So you have the printouts over here, and this is the completed one over here. And what we do with those parts is we duplicate those parts by using silicone over here. And in this silicone parts, we pour wax inside. And so this is a wax clone. And when we do this, we need to take into consideration shrinkage. So when you go from a 3D print to wax to silicone mold to wax, there's a certain amount of shrinkage involved. So when you're making stuff like this, you also have to take that into consideration. It's about 6%. You have to bring your 3D about 6% larger than what it should be. frame that goes inside the hole to put together the skeleton, basically. And all this is done on using computers as well. And first prototype again done with 3D printers, but it was really bad. We had to use this at events and chipping for it all the time, and it was really sad. And so this was another version. And this one was actually the derived frame. So we decided to do everything in Japan. So while there is a choice to make things in China, and maybe it is a bit more cheap in China, because I'm running this project mostly on my own, my time going to China and back would be like very difficult for me to do so. So I decided to let's just do a bit more and do everything in Japan. So our molds are made in Yamagata, and this is an example of a mold. So you can basically buy us with this mold, so they are quite expensive. What we did do is make the mold in certain parts, so that you can see like a block missing from there. So that means if you want to change something in the future, any modifications, you can just like pry out that piece. So if you're going to make any mold in the future, maybe you can take something like that into consideration. And lots of what we have to do is color matching. So we have to make sure that the frame inside matches the skin, so that it doesn't look too weird. And after we build the pellets, they go into the injection molding machine. It gets like injected and into the mold, and parts come out like this again. And what happens for the next few months is that due to certain variables like pressure, heat, and so on and so on, the parts would either be loose or too tight. So for the next few months, we have to like adjust these variables so that we get just right stiffness for the products to be able to be made available for consumers. And there's like a ton of other things, and here's a view here, the design of the eye. So like all of these are the same, but very different in terms of radiation, lighting, position of highlights, size of highlights, and so on. So that gives a completely different feel for the doll. And then there's the genes as well. I really wanted genes which were very realistic to humans with the type of like creases that we have inside here. And there's the wings as well. And then once we have all these pieces, we put them together and we ship them. So March 2014, this is back at my house. This was the first floor, which was becoming quite crowded. And when there was like a few more bodies, it became very difficult to move around. My bathroom ended up being a stockroom like this. And my entrance became another warehouse type of thing, full of boxes. And our bedroom became a stockroom for boxes as well. And this was the second floor, compared to what used to be mentioned. And that's the first floor. So over this time, my wife and I, we've had to like move out of our house so that we can use the whole house and dedicate that for production of dolls. And so we moved into some makeshift apartments nearby, and it was really, really small, and I hated it. I know there's like folks out there without like shelter and homeless folks, but I feel really selfish and things. But it was tough time, for me. And everything started to change. Everything changed in June 2014 when we started shipping Smart Doll to the world. I knew she would do kind of well, I didn't know exactly how well she would do. And so, yeah, she done. And we were trying forward to move into a pop-up office, and this is what our office, this is the actual office that we moved into. Even though it's smiling over here, we had like a really tough time getting an office. So one of the things in Japan, there is still the I don't want to bring my place to you because you're a graduate. And while it's not like everyone, you still get that from time to time, and I just have to make that note. So I was like turned down time after time, and it wasn't the gaijin thing, it was that my wage wasn't high enough. So I sort of back home, and this is what it looked like after we moved out. And we had to clean up, and because we use most of the employees, and like guys, they don't know how to history, there's like lots of directions to the wall, and actually threatened to like take DNA samples and so on and so on, and make it go to the nearby government. But anyway, we had to like before you move in. And so now the new office is great because I don't need to like ask clients to like sit on the floor because I have to like opportunity for meeting space. And we've got like enough space to have a little get-together with some of our friends. October 2014, we started to hire more bodies to ship our jobs. And this is what it was like. And this should be a video that plays. Okay. Alright, so this is a typical day at our office here. So we have like lots of parts that come in. So the final parts are still loaded in Tokyo, and they come in, and we need to like inspect them. And there's some like QA going on in the bottom right-hand corner over there, and quality checks. And then over here, we need to cut off the flash that's not needed on these parts. Towards the top of there, we've got like some bodies that back over there, basically pretending to work. Next to them, there's like computing stuff going on, and they basically have things checked and checked again. So 80% of our time is spent checking, and we ship everything out for you. And I get to move back home, and this is our third floor, where we started the company. Oops, sorry. So our jobs, a smart job, is for cultures, and it's for all ages. And here are some customers around the world with our products. Alright, so we actually have two models right now. So we first started off with Mira Sunaka, which is modeled after our mascot character. And we now have a friend over there, which is like this now, and they both are taken up now. And we also have some apparel items as well. And these will transform into apparel for humans as well. So there's like t-shirts, cargo pants, and so on. So the difference between other dolls like Barbie, which are like how tall are they? 1/6 scale, and these ones which are 1/3 scale. There's a level of detail which is just like achievable when they're 1/6 scale, which is why you're able to express much more due to the physical size in terms of like clothing and hair and design and so on and so on. And so it's me, so I do lots of hands-on stuff as well. We've got a few bullet points to go through. The bodies is made in China. The jeans and sort of clothing items are made in Korea, as well as the wigs, which are also made in Korea. They cost 60,000 yen each. And the customizable, the wigs are customizable, eyes, plus as well. So many folks thought that I designed these for Otaku. And so the first models that you saw, they had big boobs. And because of Otaku, they kind of had big boobs, also it's article. And so I wanted to go beyond the Otaku market. The Otaku market is it is interesting, but it's still very small and used when compared to the rest of the world. So we made small busts, and we don't have headlights on them either, because headlights shine through t-shirts, they don't look great that way. And so we made small busts, and I didn't ship with a default summer uniform, summer sailing uniform. I actually shipped casual clothing. So apparel items up to 30,000. And so we said quite a bit, and apparel capacity is 400 units per month, and it's just like not enough. And so to meet demand, we need at least 1,000 units per month, and to be able to do that by April, May, we're actually setting up our own molding factory in Katsushima. So we have access to lots of networks around the world. So this is KTNA in Los Angeles. So we have a report about smart dog. This is Bloomberg. This was taken at the Mobile World Congress. This is what it's taken. And this was on TS. What's it called? Colorado Survey. And we have access to those media as well. So currently we have a weekly corner in a weekly ASCII by Kanagawa, and that's available in also convenience stores around Japan. This is a Genichi newspaper, and there's other magazines as well. And the most important thing is that we want to reach out to many folks who haven't seen this product. So that means I'm going outside the otaku world. So magazines Tatler, Newsweek, and GQ as well. And this is in Malaysia. So my dad, some of you may know he makes shoes, and we actually are collaborating on some of the power connectors for our fashion lines. Because mentioned, there's actually a robot version. So the robot version, it's still being developed. It can move around, it can give you speed, and you can actually hook it up to APIs. And so I Twitter, Facebook, and so on, and she'll let you know when you get notifications. She'll bring you come home, and all the time, I'm going to finish. She'll bring you come home, and she'll teach you Japanese. And for folks who are wondering, yes, there is a guy. I haven't thought of a name for him. Smart, technically he's called a smart guy. And already done all the 3D printing, and we are currently in the stage of making robots. And so Universal have already contacted me regarding having Smart Corona become some of their superheroes. So over the years, this, and especially working with Smart Dog, this is one piece of advice I'd like to share. There will always be folks around who don't believe you. And of course, the one thing is to not to convince them, but to continue to believe in yourself. So the thing is about Smart Dog is that I work with many vendors, and if I listen to every single vendor that said, yeah, the quality of the skin's okay, the hair's okay, the clothes are okay, and so on. So should probably end up looking like Jabba, cross between like Jabba the Hutt and a Wookiee, which probably wouldn't sell too much. So I think as you start up your business, you'll be like working with vendors. I think that it's very important that you're not out to make friends, you're out to build a business. And that involves like growing really, really thick skin. And it's very important to make sure you don't lose track of your vision just because someone's looking you in the eye and saying, oh, this quality is not acceptable. And it's not just that, it's not just like working with vendors. There'll be like people out there who, they just like don't know what you're doing, it's a competitor, and they just don't really like you. And I think the most important thing is to continue to focus on what you're doing instead of using